All right, Jed, here it is. This 3-minute crash course in managing people older than you, specifically the baby boomers. Let us have it.
There you go. So we talk about the baby boomers. This is a generation born between 46 and 65, roughly. Like, depending on where you get your stats from, they could extend out on either side of that number. But basically, the baby boomers were born after their fathers returned from the Second World War and started impregnating their wives, and this is where the baby boomers all come from. So we want to talk a little bit about how we're going to lead baby boomers, especially if we're a younger manager trying to figure out how to manage a baby boomer that works on our team. Somebody who's older than us can often present a bit of a specific and unique challenge. So one way to think about managing these people effectively is to understand where it is that they're coming from. So what kind of things do they value? What kind of things do they think is important? Then frame up your management style and your communications with them in such a way that's going to matter to these folks. You'll get more out of them than trying to make them listen to the kinds of things that you think is important. So what do baby boomers think is important? Well, remember, this group grew up during a different and interesting time. So the birth of rock and roll happened while these folks were coming of age, if you will. The great space exploration started with satellites and men on the moon. They also grew up during a time that was relatively peaceful. So as I said, they were born after their fathers came home from the Second World War, and many of them grew up and certainly came of age before the Vietnam War. So a fairly peaceful time, a fairly affluent upbringing where, white houses white picket fences, if you will, and rock and roll. But they aren't afraid of a little conflict. So the civil rights movement was also something that was happening and going on during these people's growing up time. So because of the things that were happening around them when they're growing up, they have certain expectations that they bring to work, certain values that were shaped as a result of some of the things that they experienced while they were growing up. So if you're leading this kind of group, if you're having to deal with and motivate and manage these folks, these things are important to them. So positions and titles, a way for them to progress and get ahead, if you will. If you can figure out how to organize your work group in such a way that you can play off of those sorts of things, play to the fact that they're very achievement oriented, and leverage that in your coaching and feedback, that's certainly going to help you. It's also a group that's 50 years old, so stability is important to them. This is not going to be a group that's going to be job hopping every 3 months on you. They're going to be fairly loyal to you. So longer term incentives, even at this age, some longer term career kind of pathing could be very important to this group. Mm-hmm. There's also a certain amount of knowledge and experience that they have that if you can figure out a way to leverage that and maybe setting up mentorship programs for them to help out some of the younger workers, or as an internal coach, for example, that's going to play to their desire for status, because that internal coach or mentor is going to have some of that status that goes with it. They're going to love that kind of stuff, and chances are your younger workers are going to benefit from the relationships as well.
And there's your 3-minute and 10-second crash course in managing boomers. If you want the full-length video and podcast, visit us at www.wileymanager.com, where you can get the full feature length, and you can hear Jed and I talk more about this.